Hey YouTube, Dan here from EAP Films Official. Today I'm reacting to how to travel the Philippines. Now this is slightly different to the normal videos that I tend to react to, so it makes a refreshing change for now. So let's take a look. Christian Level. Whoa! So I'd never cliff jump, but oh wow. Oh, whale sharks! I love whale sharks! Your country is absolutely beautiful.
Hi, my name is Christian LeBlanc, and in 2015 I had the extreme pleasure of traveling to 9 Asian countries and spending almost 7.5 months abroad. Every country has unique things to offer, but the Philippines was by far my favorite. I've never met a kinder group of people and a more beautiful landscape. The bluest of waters, the most exaggerated landscapes. There's so much to see and so much to do. The Philippines is comprised of over 7,000 islands, of which I saw a handful.
7,000?
In the Philippines, we stayed in 3 main areas: Manila, Palawan, and Cebu. When you land in the Philippines, you'll be landing in Manila. However, we don't recommend spending any longer than you need to. Simply get on the next flight from Manila and head to either Palawan or Cebu. For our trip, we went straight to Cebu.
Oh, what a wonderful culture you guys have.
We went 15 minutes away, got a hotel, and stayed there for about 2 days. Mactan is beautiful, but
so these sort of travel videos remind me of my own with that you just film everything and just edit this nice little movie afterwards.
Heading south. Jeepneys are the buses used by the locals. They're highly affordable, highly safe, and I highly recommend using them. Once the jeepney took us to the southern tip of Cebu, we took a ferry going to Dumaguete. Once we arrived in Dumaguete, we got on the Filipino tricycles. You'll see them everywhere. We took one of them into Dumaguete and spent the rest of the night drinking and singing karaoke with our newfound friends. The next morning,
oh, so you love karaoke.
We got on the ferry and headed to Siquijor Island.
I've never done a karaoke.
On the island, we rented this crappy little car. It broke down like 5 times.
Well, I say never. I've never done karaoke out in public. I've done it in sort of like, you know, a house party or something.
Is known as a mystic island, or for its voodoo magic. However, we didn't see anything too weird.
And I was drunk.
Siquijor is also not very well known to the public. I barely saw any other tourists, and it was mainly the locals that knew of it. One of the most beautiful places I saw while traveling for 7.5 months was here. Saladong Beach. I think I'm probably saying it wrong, but it was stunning. I remember looking over this diving platform and thinking there's no way anyone jumps here, the tide must be out or something. And next thing I know, these 3 dudes literally lunged themselves off into the ocean. It may as well be called Peer Pressure Beach because everyone ends up jumping at the end of the day. This was one of my favorite beaches in all of my travels.
Whoa! I'm sorry, but I would never do that.
Spending time with the local strays and enjoying traditional Filipino meal known as a boodle fight. The reason it's called that is because once people start eating, it's a free-for-all. The food consisted of fish, sea urchin, seaweed, and a bunch of spices.
Sea urchin?
It was surprisingly good.
I've never tried that before.
We went back to Dumaguete and then straight to Oslob. Oslob is known for one thing, and that is the whale sharks. The whale sharks are some of the most amazing creatures you'll ever see. For $30, you get 45 minutes to swim next to these whale sharks, and there's generally going to be 5 to 15 of them.
Oh, wow.
The truth is, they're being fed, so it's not quite as impressive as seeing them in their natural surroundings, but it's still very impressive.
That is still pretty cool.
You go at 6 a.m. By noon, they've eaten their fair share of tourists and go back into the ocean. No, they don't eat people, but you do want to be there early. If you have extra time in Oslob, I highly recommend checking out Tumalog Falls. It's only about a 15 to 20 minute motorbike ride away, and it's definitely worth the sight. Now, you have sold the Philippines to me. Not that I needed to be sold to before, Oslob, we went straight to Bohol. Bohol is a large island. Because it's a bit unusual, you won't see this advertised online. What we did is we simply went to the pier in Oslob and asked around until we found someone who was driving their boat across. I think we paid about $20 to $30 per passenger. If you don't do this, you'll have to drive all the way back up to Cebu City and catch a plane or a boat from Cebu City. After spending a day hanging out on Alona Beach, one of the most beautiful beaches, we rented a scooter and headed up north to the Chocolate Hills. This is a full day trip in itself. There's a lot to do. You can see the beautiful cathedrals, the creepy little monkeys with big eyes known as tarsiers, and of course, the Chocolate Hills. I love Bohol. I don't recommend saying that out loud too often. To get back to Cebu, we went to the big pier in Bohol and took a boat going back to Cebu City. Once in Cebu City, we took a jeepney going down to Badian. This is about a 3.5-hour bus ride. Badian is incredible. This is where we went canyoneering, one of the most memorable experiences of my
So these guys are using... Okay, they're catching a ride, fair enough.
If I were to imagine where Gatorade came from, I would imagine it was here. The water is one of the most unique blues you'll ever see in your life. And one of the best parts of the whole experience is when you get to the very end of the canyoneering, you're led to this beautiful waterfall known as Kawasan Falls. The company we use is called Badian Cebu Canyoneering. I recommend them. After Badian, we went all the way back to Dumaguete, and from Dumaguete, paid about $50 to get a boat to take us to Apo Island. We split that cost among the 4 of us, and paid another $10 to rent snorkel gear for the day. The reason it's called Apo Island is because Apo means sea turtle, or at least the Filipinos told me that. Ah. And it makes total sense. We saw about 7 to 8 sea turtles that day.
What I was going to say was, some of these travel videos, they often rent like a little motorcycle to get through places. Do you always have to have a motorbike? Because I don't ride a bike, and I would feel a bit unsafe, I think, if I'd never ridden one before.
There's an incredible cave you can explore in Puerto Princesa, but we didn't spend any time and headed straight to El Nido. We paid about $15 to have a passenger van drive us north to El Nido. Now you're probably asking, why do I go all the way to El Nido? The answer is that it's probably one of the most beautiful places in the entire world. In fact, it's been consistently voted the most beautiful islands in the world, and according to my mom, Kanye West has an island there. The footage you see here is from Laura and I on Tour A. There's tours A, B, C, and D. The only one we did was Tour A, but we absolutely loved it. From what I heard, the island tours A and C are the best. However, talk to people around you and you can get some feedback from them. On the mainland of El Nido, there's an amazing cliffside overlooking all of El Nido. It's called Tara Cliff, and it's actually pretty dangerous, so you'll need a guide to bring you up. We asked around the town until we found a guide for about $30.
Holy moly!
Generally, dive shops will be the most in place to go, and they can organize you with anything from accommodation to tours. Just make sure they're not taking advantage of you. Do your research.
I can tell by the type of rocks that climbing it is going to be easy, but there's nothing really keeping you safe, is there? I would really... I'd do that.
My all-time favorite.
I would do that.
It was so unbelievably beautiful that we made another trip back to actually spend the night there.
I'm freaking dying. I don't understand why the power keeps dying every single friggin' 2 hours.
One note that should be made is that El Nido often loses electricity, which leads to excruciatingly hot days and nights where the air conditioning does not work. To avoid this, simply stay at a place that has generators. El Nido has a great reputation for scuba diving. Laura and I did 2
I'm
dives,
not PADI certified, so I
massive
can't
schools of fish,
dive.
and we even went scuba diving into a cave with super poisonous snakes. I didn't like that part. If you're really big into scuba diving, you'll want to go further north to Coron. Coron is widely known as the best place to scuba dive in all of the Philippines. There's sunken warships that you can actually dive through, and it's very beautiful. The next day, we went back to Nakpan Beach. We used the locals' way of transportation and sat on the top of this truck. We paid probably about $2 each, and it was an amazing way to meet the locals. I highly recommend you go out of your way to not only save money, but try these unique and authentic experiences. Nakpan Beach is my favorite beach in all of my 7.5 months of traveling. It's truly a hidden gem. If you don't go to Nakpan Beach, you're missing out on a huge part of what made the Philippines so special to me. I absolutely love Nakpan. Nakpan was essentially our last night in the Philippines. After Nakpan, we went all the way back to Puerto Princesa, took a flight all the way to Manila, the capital of the Philippines, and then left the Philippines from Manila. My time in the Philippines was unforgettable, and I loved it so much that I'll actually be going back in 2016. To finish this video, I thought I'd answer a few questions that I know will be commonly asked. The first being, is the Philippines safe? The Philippines is very safe. Like any country, there will be bad places and places you should avoid. In this case, I recommend you avoid the south of the Philippines, also known as Mindanao. The best resource will always be your national embassy. See what they have to say on every country you plan to visit. But to conclude this question, the Philippines was one of the safest countries I visited in my entire time in Asia. The second question is, do I need a visa to visit? For the Philippines, you actually don't need to buy a visa in advance. But what you do need is you need to buy a two-way ticket. And
that is incredible, being on top of those rocks and just overlooking that.
When you go into the Philippines, you'll of course have bought a one-way ticket into the Philippines, but you also need to have purchased a return ticket. Your tickets cannot be more than 21 days apart, because 21 days is the most the country allows you to stay without special permission. I highly recommend you always do your own research because terms can change. But to conclude, make sure you have your return ticket bought in advance. The third question is, where should I go if I don't have time to see both Palawan and Cebu? Well, this will totally depend on you. In my opinion, Cebu has more to do. You have options between the whale sharks, cliff jumping, going canyoneering, and even island hopping. Palawan, on the other hand, has a bit less selection. You're either going to Puerto Princesa or you're going to El Nido. And El Nido is absolutely stunning, so I would highly recommend you make your way there. But if you don't want to spend 10 days laying around the beach and doing island tours, I recommend you do Cebu. Both Cebu and Palawan have incredible islands to offer, and if you can't make them both work in this trip, maybe consider doing one.
What do you guys think then? Do you think Cebu or Palawan?
Definitely worth returning to see the other. And the last question is the Philippines expensive? Now, I'm not going to go into any detail, but a very vague answer is no, it is not expensive. It's very comparable to traveling through Thailand. A meal will cost you anywhere from $2 to $5 American dollars. And accommodations is a little bit more expensive, going anywhere from $7 all the way up to $15 for a reasonable accommodation.
Wow.
Overall, traveling the Philippines is very affordable and I highly recommend it. This video just gives you a small glimpse of each place, but if you want to see a bit more in detail, check the description box. Because I was vlogging every day, I created vlogs for every single experience we had in the Philippines, from having a layover in the Manila airport to scuba diving in El Nido. So if you want more information on a particular event, or simply want to see our adventures from start to finish, make sure to check out the vlogs in my description. I hope you guys found this video insightful, and if you have any questions that I didn't answer, feel free to leave them in the comment box and I'll do my best to get back to every single one of you. And as always, I'll be posting daily vlogs as I travel through Southeast Asia and North America over the next year.
The Philippines look absolutely... If I show you what's out of my window right now, it would just look absolutely crap in comparison. Although for me, well, you know, it's not dodgy or anything, but it's just, you know, not beautiful like that. But I suppose the benefit of living in the UK and having this kind of, you know, urban sort of area and stuff is that you do appreciate places like this a lot more. It's quite often, my dad lives in Wales and he used to live right near the sea, but he didn't really spend that much time going to the beach. I mean, you know, it's there all the time. If you live somewhere where people go for some specific things, I think you take it for granted. I think you tend to, like for example, people in London, I bet a lot of people in London haven't seen Big Ben, haven't seen the Queen and, you know, Buckingham Palace and all that sort of thing, because they live in London, they can do whatever they want, they just don't get round to doing it because there's other things that they want to do. And yet tourism in London, I mean, people fly there all the time. I think it's the same, you know, and I think if I go to the Philippines, you know, it'd just be one of the most remarkable experiences that I can probably ever do. But for you guys, you'd probably come to London or something just to see a few little sights and that, but you don't think it's beautiful. Not really. And you'll go back home and you'll be like, oh, thank God I'm back. Similar sort of thing, you know, I think we appreciate, I certainly don't know, I appreciate going to different countries because of the different cultures, the landscapes, the scenery, the experiences that you can do. I just think everywhere is just amazing to visit. Then when I get back, I have some memories that I can treasure forever. And obviously if I film my holidays like I do anyway, then I'll always have it to look back on in the future. So that was my reaction. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I may see you in the Philippines sooner than you think, if I end up booking to go. So we'll see you next time.